Right. If everybody could find a chair, please. We'd like to call the meeting to order. Of course, now that I've got you to find a chair, let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Here she is. Let me introduce Elaine Wedgeworth.
I want to welcome all of you to our Meet the Candidates session. This is a really good opportunity to get to know our candidates a little bit better. It's an important decision that you all have to make on selecting people that will help us through managing this club or working through all the issues that come up, and it's their opportunity to communicate to you their experience and their plans, and I appreciate them for volunteering to take on this job, because it is a lot more work than I ever anticipated when I sat in that chair this time last year. And that each of you bring a little different set of skills to the board, and that's important because we all don't need to be experts on any one particular area. So hopefully you'll have an opportunity to highlight that when we get through the questions and everything. And I'd also like to thank our Nominating Commission. They have spent the last several months identifying candidates for you, filling them in on what the job requires, going through an interview process, and setting up the meeting today. So Brittany Allen is one of our commissioners on the nominating committee, Ann Ward, and David Wood couldn't be here today, but he was also on the commission, and our two co-chairs are George Holmes and Patricia Dalton. So I will... George will kind of fill you in on how the afternoon is going to progress.
All right, thank you, Elaine. Before we get started, we want to say thank you and welcome to our refurbished clubhouse. Bobby and his crew have been busting their tail feathers trying to get things lined out. Club's open today, and we'll go from that. We'd also like to thank Sherry Vandenberg, Eric Simonson, Craig Maldonado, Stacy Potter, Maggie Fizz, and Jason Butchko, the employees that have helped out immensely trying to get this thing organized and get it set up for you all. Thank you. I want to do that up front in case I forget at the end. We're going to try to ask some questions. We put together some questions. If you excuse me while I sit down. We're going to put together some questions. Hopefully they're relevant. They may not be exactly what you want to hear, but hopefully we'll have some ideas from our candidates here. And we're going to try to do 3 minutes. We've got a timer in the back. Miss Brittany, show us your 15-second. So if you see that goes up, you know you got 15 seconds. Is there a 0? No, she'll turn it upside down and I'll say thank you. At that point, hand off the microphone and we'll see where the day gets us. If everybody's found a place, the first question is please introduce yourself, telling us how long you've been here, where you're from, and share previous board or business experience with country clubs, restaurants, or golf courses. We'll start down on the end, Stanley, and let it come back this way. And I will gladly repeat any question if you don't quite understand.
Hi. Probably a lot of y'all know me. My name's Stanley Mathis. I've been here since 2016. Suzanne and I bought our first house here. And I've been on the board for the last 3 years. Prior to being here, we lived in in Austin, lived out on the lake, great spot. Only problem was 100-degree temperatures, and I just don't get along much anymore. Really, we love this place. We moved up here full-time in 2019, and just really do have a good time here. Suzanne and I are both involved in golf. She does karaoke. I do not sing, thank God. But I got on the board 3 years ago, and you know, the interesting thing is, quite frankly, when I ran 3 years ago, I'm sitting here thinking, we just finished the pool in the fitness center, and we just closed on Cocopelli. What could go wrong? Wow. I mean, everybody knows the fires and the floods and everything that's happened. It's been a very, very interesting 3 years. To kind of get prepared for being on this board, I was the chairman of the Alzheimer's Foundation in Houston, Texas, actually in Harris County in the late 1980s, early 90s. I was on the board of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation in Austin for 8 years. I was term limited out, basically a fundraising arm. Enjoyed that because we actually made some progress in diabetes and in helping kids because it's type 1 diabetics. It's genetic. It's not self-induced. The things that that I really look forward to on this for this club is helping getting our finances back where they were. I mean, the fires and the floods really took a toll on us. And quite frankly, had we not had the dues increase last year, I have no idea where we would be. It was a lifesaver. I mean, I was the one that wrote the letter last January asking for everybody to pay their dues early, and it got sent out because it was just that bad. But now we're back in a good situation, getting better day by day, thanks to our Finance Commission and thanks to the people that are on the board now. So, anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kimbrell. I grew up here, and my wife is from here as well. We both worked here as our first job, so. Moved to San Diego for college, swore I'd never ever come back here. I was gonna stay in Southern California, and here I am. So in 2020, my parents live here, my wife's parents live here. In 2020, we came back, they're getting older, and we're like, we need to be up here more. And let's just build a house. So we drove down High Mesa. They were putting the stakes in the ground for a lot, and we bought it that day. And so we've been up here ever since. We love it. It's funny, I always tell this story. So my wife, she worked at the pool, I worked in the cart barn. She was a little bit older, paid no attention to me whatsoever. And she worked all the way through her master's degree. And Alto always had a weird spot with me because one of the things, it was an older community then, and we kind of, was snobby is what we always thought. And when she was working here, she was cleaning the handrails out front, and a guy came up to her and said, if you went to college, you wouldn't have to do that someday. This is while she was getting a master's degree. And I've seen it evolve away from that. We're getting newer members at a pretty good clip, and it's a great place with great people, and we're happy to be back. As far as like commissions and stuff, I'm newer, I'll be honest. I currently am on golfing greens and enjoying that. I golf a ton. I think I played 46 different courses last year, so I see what works in places and what hasn't worked in places, and looking forward to this one.
My name's Rocky Hill, and my wife and I, Joy, first bought up here in August of 2018. We were in New Braunfels, played golf, and it was 108 degrees and 99% humidity, and a couple we know, walked in to our favorite restaurant, and they had just come from up here. They still own a house up here. And we were about to die, and they said, man, it's 68 degrees up in Alto. You ought to visit that. I think in about 4 days, we set up an appointment to come up here and start looking at houses, and ended up buying one, and haven't looked back. This is our happy place. We started a business, Rocky Hill Equipment Rentals, in 1985. Operated that for 40 years until we sold it 2 years ago in 2024. We also have a construction company that we still have. I had served as president of the Comal County Junior Livestock Show Association. I was on that board for about 4 years, serving 1 year as president. I was also on the Comal County Fair Association. I was on that for not on the board, I was a member of it 16 years, on the board for 3, served as president of that also. I have been on the Texas Rental Association Board of Directors for 6 years, and then moved up to the American Rental Association Board of Directors, and I was on that for 6 years. Also, when I came off of that, I was the National PAC Chairman, Political Action Committee Chairman for the United States. But Joy and I love it. We're both avid golfers, and I'm running for the board because I think we've gone through some rough times, and we're coming out of it, and I would just like to continue to see that grow. Keep moving in the right direction.
Thank you. My name is Frank Braden, and I grew up in Ohio, but I went to school in Ohio and Georgia for a while, and I've been in Texas a long time. We've been up here on and off for about 20 years, and this is getting to be our permanent home. We have been in Cocoa now for about 4 years. My background is in hospitals. I was a hospital administrator for a long time, and we formed a company in '85, and we owned hospitals, different parts of the country. The last hospital we owned that I was lucky enough to sell was in Santa Teresa, New Mexico. So and most of our business at that time was in New Mexico. So I've been involved in New Mexico politics and water and all that for a long, long time. What I think I bring to the board is my past experience. I was president of the Coronado Country Club board in El Paso for a while back in the '90s. I was on the board for 6 or 7 years, I think, and president 2 years. I got off, and the club had some problems a few years after that, and they appointed a bunch of us to oversee the operation of the board. So I was the chairman of the oversight committee for another 5 years. And so you're asking me, what am I doing here? And it's I got asked, and I always have an obligation, if people think I can help, to do my best to help. I've also been on, I'm still currently, I should say, currently chairman of a not-for-profit treatment foster care, which is like foster care for children that are troubled in New Mexico, and that's an agency that I enjoy being involved with. It's been a long-term relationship and one that's rewarding also. Also, we made HMR board in New Mexico and Texas, which is at that time was called the Mental Health and Retardation, which is a state agency to oversee what's going on in the local county. Meals on Wheels board, I was on for a long time, and other things. But I think that's pretty much what I can bring to the table is experience in governing boards and understanding what makes a country club work and what makes a country club not work. And I think there's a lot of very important things that we have coming up, and I think it's important to have somebody with the patience to understand what needs to get done in the long run. And my 15 seconds are up.
I'm Charlie Barron. You wanted to know something about background. I graduated chemical engineering from University of Alabama, Roll Tide. My wife and I have been married 58 years. We say we're having a senior moment at our time here in Alto. We were here in 22 in a Verbo for the summer, got time to go home. We looked at each other and said, why? Promptly bought a house here, sold that one there, and we're just very happy to be here. The thing I really love about our club here is July the 4th. We see all the smiling faces filling this place. Everybody is just happy to be here, and everything else is secondary. In terms of background, I spent 31 years in project engineering in Shell. One of the strengths that I think I can bring here is I see too much of our decision-making being all verbal. That 31 years told me that you can't define an issue unless you write it down. If you think of nothing else about me, remember me as Mr. Write It Down. That will be a focus if I'm on the board, to try to get things organized in a way that our decision makers can understand all the aspects of the issues and make really informed decisions going forward. Let's see, what am I not covering here? I spent, after I retired, I spent 11 years in a volunteer position on a municipal utility district board in Texas. Texans will know about that. That provides water and sanitary sewer services to subdivisions. I was president of that board for 4 years, so I've got a lot of board experience doing that. At that time, we had major political battles with the city of Houston, and the state of Texas did not support us in that effort. So a lot of contentious legal activity is in that background as well. So that's a little different perspective maybe for you to consider. All of us have expressed concern about club finances and wanting to keep them on track going forward. I want to see us focus on key performance indexes, which is a best business practice. Our financial software will produce those. We have not enabled that, and I want to see us focus on that. Thank you.
My name is David Ballard, and my beautiful wife of 25 years over here. We've lived in Alto for 11 years, and I've been coming up here since 1992 when I first moved to El Paso, just to get out of the heat and be able to do something fun. I've got 45 years of experience in commercial, industrial, and residential real estate. I have my own consulting company that I've had since 2010. Been on numerous boards over the years, charter commissions, engineering committees. We, in the mid-90s, purchased Horizon Golf Course, which some of you probably know. Changed the name to Emerald Springs. Did a lot of renovation there. My office was in the lower level of that. Later in the 90s, we actually bought Eagle Golf, which put us in touch with 35 golf courses around Texas in different areas, and I spent a lot of time, and specifically in a golf course we had in Nevada. I don't know how many of you know of Pahrump, Nevada, but that's where I spent a lot of time doing golf course revitalization and new construction. I'm from Virginia originally, Blue Ridge Mountains. Long story of how I got out here. Won't bore you with that, but if you do want to hear a good story, ask me how I met my wife. That's a good story. Blind dates are really interesting. I certainly want to be on the board because I want, I've really over the last couple of years realized how we're not just members, we're owners. We're partners. And I want to have a voice, and I want to give you a voice on each of these boards, and to be able to go back to the board and convey your concerns, your comments, your questions, and be able to get some reaction and be able to give feedback to you. So I want to be open. I want to be there for you. I want to hear what you have to say. I think above all is financial responsibility. We've all talked about what we've come through over the last few years, and it's been tough. And I think the board, the most recent board, has done a good job trying to help us get out of a mess that we've been in, as Stan was mentioning earlier. But I think that financial responsibility is something you want to look for in a board and in a candidate. So with that, that's the type of candidate I want to be, and I appreciate your vote if you wish for me to be on the board. Thank you very much.
My name is Levi Bailey, and I hope that you read the bio in there. I'm not going to rehash the details in there. I'd like to point out a couple things. Faith is very important to me. And whenever I announced that I was going to run for the board, I got 2 phone calls, and both of them kind of went like this. Are you out of your ever-loving mind? But, you know, the good book says, it doesn't say that he will give you only what you can handle. It actually gives examples of time and time again of where people are given more than what they can handle, so that you have to rely on his strength. The bios here, I read the other bios, and they stress financial responsibility and stability for the club, and I like that. I think that's where my background, my work history, and my education in accounting and finance lends itself to achieving that goal. I've been a member of 9 clubs over the years, and they've been private clubs, they've been member-owned clubs, corporate clubs, they've been a resort, and what you find, it's good people are in there, and it's when those good people come together, they form the membership, and that membership is what makes the club successful in supporting the board of directors and the club management. I love golf and I love working out, and I've made a lot of good friendships throughout the years through the club atmosphere, and I look forward to making a lot more. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tell you what, for the second question, David, just hang on to that microphone. We'll go back the other way. We'll go back the other way. Now, Levi, you can take a break. Since we'll hang on to the other microphone. Just get you on. The next question is, how will you handle the conflict between member desires for no dues increases and the club's need for infrastructure improvements?
Thank you. I think that's kind of what I touched on a few minutes ago about us not only being members, but being owners, and being partners. We have a responsibility, just like we do with the properties that we own, the homes that we own, to maintain, to make sure they're taken care of, to spend the money we need to spend. I think some of the issues that we've been having over the last few years has been the lack of capital reserve funds. That seems like we've blown through that so much with real estate issues we've been through, and I think we're kind of coming out of that at this point, but I think one of the things we really need to do is get a capital reserve study done. This is something that used to be done years ago, and I think that would help us get some direction and understand a little bit more about where we need to go, where the money needs to be coming from, and how we need to get it in the accounts it needs to be in to make these kind of improvements. I think it's difficult for anybody. I know I don't like to hear, gee, I need for you to pay more money. But at the end of the day, like I said, I look at this as it's my club. It's my responsibility to do my part to maintain what I joined this club for. Entertainment, fun, social opportunities, fellowship. I think that's the thing we really need to focus on, and I think we all have to do our part, even though it hurts a little bit sometimes. You still have to do what you got to do to keep the club viable. Thank you.
This is, I think, in my wheelhouse. I've got 31 years of experience putting projects together. I know the importance of trying to explicitly define all the options that go in with understanding them. We've got definitely some major challenges facing us, and you need to get all of that defined in a way that the decision makers know that they understand the basics of everything that's involved in projects. That's my emphasis on trying to get things written down so people have the opportunity to make thoughtful contemplation about all the aspects of projects so that we can come to a clear understanding of where we really need to spend our resources, first, second, third, in a priority order. And if that leads to the need for a dues increase, so be it. But a lot of work needs to go into defining that. We are owners of this place. The board owes it to a good explanation to the membership on why they're recommending a particular course of action as we address these issues. And I think my experience in handling that can be a benefit to us as we try to grapple with those important issues.
A little bit different perspective, I think. One of the things that really does the club in is surprises. Dues increases and assessments. Okay, sorry. Well, I'd say a little bit different perspective. I think one of the things that really does clubs in the long run are surprises. Dues increases that don't seem justified or assessments almost any time hurts a club. And we're really in a good position not to have to do assessments ever. But we do have capital expenditures that we're not funding in the future. The best one to look example, 3 courses like this, water systems go down, irrigation systems go down, and you're talking literally millions of dollars. And we have to fund that now so we don't have assessments in the future and don't have outrageous dues increases. I think the way you do that is that you really have to get, we lost 73 houses and very few of them are being rebuilt. Somehow we have to motivate people to want to come up here, build houses, pay the transfer fees, which is where I think we should get the money for the capital, always, and become active members. We need to encourage people to become year-round members if possible, but we definitely need to figure out how we can get more houses being built. Very few houses are being sold, very few houses are being built. Ruidoso is under incredible pressure with all the things that have gone wrong. You know, it's a minor one, but the most recent one is the Flying J closing up. And all that hurts us and hurts the city also. We have to get, I think, have to get in partnership with the city and the real estate people and find out how we can find another city in Horseshoe Bay and get another group to come up here. And that's what we should be working at, is finding towns that will come up here en masse and buy and stay. And I get people shaking their head, no more Horseshoe Bay people. But we do need to get lots sold, we need to get houses built, and we need to have that money for capital in the future, so we don't have surprises. Thanks.
This is a tough problem to talk about. Costs go up. I think we all know that. Insurance goes up. Cost of goods goes up. Dues increase, unfortunately, is going to happen at times. You're going to hear me talk about this a lot, probably, in other questions or whatever, but one of the biggest things that I think we need to work for is capital reserves and operating reserves. What happened to us prior, we had nothing to back up on. We have to have a plan to back up, to have capital reserved to make purchases when we need to, when things come up. You were talking about surprises, and this is one of the things that has come up. We've had things that we were not looking forward to. I think the best thing that the board has done is separating out operational and capital expenditures. Smartest thing I think that the current board has come up with. Now we need to find a way to keep reserves. And I will tell you something else that I'm not in for is debt. I'm not a proponent of debt. I never have been. Being in business for 40 years, I know there are times where it will come up and it's unavoidable. But I try to run my business without debt. And when you don't have debt, the surprises aren't as big. If you have cash reserves set aside, you can weather some of the storms that come up. And I believe that's where the club needs to move forward to.
So, could you read the question one more time, since it's been a while since we got down here?
How will you handle conflict between members' desire for no dues increases and the club's need for infrastructure improvements?
So, I was one of the ones that wasn't a fan of the increase last year. I understand it, and those things should be prevented, but it happened. So, what I'm looking at is 10, 20 years down the road, when I'm 50, 60 years old, what's that look like for everybody else, with the fact that we can increase, I think, by 4 or 5% per year on top of the $100 increase that we did. So what does that look like going forward? For me, it would be stop buying stuff and quit adding things. Like, we have this, and I don't want to rehash everything that's happened in the past, but what we have now, we need to learn to work with, and quit putting out to member votes, oh, let's buy this, let's do this. Like, at some point, let's work with what we got. And just be more, I think there's efficiency, things that we can do around the club with the restaurant and everything to make it to where we're doing better with the money that we have and can build those reserves back up. It's going to be a unique year. We don't have the track for the first time in my lifetime. What does that look like? We don't know yet. Flying J, like you said, closing down. It will flood again here this year. So preparing for all of that and going forward. So from a club standpoint, what can we do to prevent this ever happening again? Getting emails, like sending out emails in January saying, pay your dues early. I want to make sure whatever we can do that doesn't ever happen again. I think the board's doing a very good job right now of getting a picture of where we're at in a way that we can read it too. So where is money being lost at each different individual club? What is Cocopelli costing us? What is Outlaw costing us? And then go from that point and take it from there. That's all.
You know, I come from a slightly different thing, having been on the board the last 3 years. I mean, we started our budget process last fall. We have taken a look at everything, I mean, everything, every department, every personnel. I mean, to give you an idea, personnel during the winter around here, somewhere around 110. It gets up to close to 250 during the summer. You're trying to manage that. We're trying to manage 3 clubhouses, 3 golf courses. And, you know, it's a challenge. When the pool and fitness center was built, there wasn't a dues increase. When Cocopelli was bought, there wasn't a dues increase. I mean, you look at the amount of money that it costs to run those, that should have never happened. I mean, there should have been increases at the time. But right now, we don't see a need for a big increase anytime soon, because right now we feel like we're in a good place. We've all of a sudden got more than $1 million in the bank that, we can use for reserves. And let me tell you something. One of the things I've learned about this place in the last 3 years is you plan for life, and then you do what you have to do. $77,000 for a well that went out at Cocopelli. I just signed the check for. We had the roof here. Thank God that was a insurance deal, because it was $1 million. We've got a leak at Cocopelli on that. I mean, every time you turn around, you're pedaling as fast as you can to do everything that you can for this club and to keep it running and to do the smart things. But yet, life happens. It happens to us. We have, we have things that happen in our lives. So, those of us here that want to be on the board, we want to do the things that we need to for this, for this club to make it a place you want to be. Inflation happens. There's going to be dues increases. I'm not going to BS anybody and tell you that they're not. I don't think that we're going to have to do the ones as big as we did last year, but that saved this club. I don't care what anybody else wants to think about it. That was something that if it hadn't happened, I don't know where we would be. But if we can avoid that going forward, that's great. Yes, we're trying to add reserves, both operationally and capital funds. But just understand, life happens here. Thanks.
I think that we are very blessed to live in this area with an affordable club. I'm a member of another club that it costs 2.5 times more than this club for the year. And I don't think that we have an unlimited mechanism to increase dues without affecting retention. I'd like to introduce the other side on the expenses. Is there ways that we could work smarter, control our expenses, purchase different? There's a lot of different avenues to affect the other side, rather than just saying we're going to keep increasing all the time, because there's a point where it does affect retention. So I love the club, and I think that it's well run, and I look forward to being able to lend accounting and finance expertise to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Tell you what, Frank, you're in the middle. The third question is, how will you use your experience to specifically help the club improve its finances? Sorry.
Well, thanks for picking on me first. Well, let me go back to my experience in El Paso. We have, I think 2 presidents before we were down to having 17 flags. Somebody had stolen the flag, and we didn't have the money to buy a new flag. And so I'm used to sometimes clubs being in trouble. We bought distressed hospitals and turned distressed hospitals around. So I have a pretty good background in being able to do things without incurring debt, as a matter of fact. I completely agree with Rocky on that. I ran a business for a long time, and we tried never to borrow money. And I think that's what I can pretty much bring to the table, in the fact that you have to look at, you can control expenses, but the unexpected happens. And that really, you have to be able to plan for the unexpected, and you have to be willing to be resilient enough to overcome those problems. And my background is I've done that. So I think I can bring those kind of things to the table. But more importantly, I keep looking at this club has a big wealth of people with money and a big number of people that have been here for a long time and may not have that much money. So it's a diverse club, and you have to be willing to look at both sides of that equation and try to please everybody without taking sides or playing favorites. One of the things that really kills a club is when somebody gets a special deal. And I think, and I'm pretty much used to not doing that. You have to stick by the rules. So I think that's, which way do you want to go? Go to
Okay. Okay. 40 years in business with Rocky Hill Equipment Rentals. I can tell you, I have been involved in the hiring, the firing, the going out for insurance quotes, the health insurance, managing finances, saving cash reserves, and all decisions that were made, the buck stopped here. And I would tell you, and Joy would know this too, there came a point in time to where we were growing and we wanted to go into larger equipment, and we did go into debt to go into large. But I will tell you this, I would never put our company, make any decisions that would ever put our company in jeopardy. And I would do the same thing here. I would never do anything, make any decision that would put this company or this club in jeopardy. When we sold out, we had over 200 pieces of equipment, and we didn't owe a dime on any of them. And we started off in debt, getting started in the business. And I was there when payments needed to be made and couldn't make them. I was there when payroll had to be done and didn't have the funds. And I promised I would never go back to that. And we have lived under that motto for the last 20 years. So that's my feel of how we do personally, business, and looking at the club.
So I started State Farm when I was 26 years old. I was, at the time, the youngest State Farm agent in New Mexico. And everybody told me at the time, you won't be profitable for 5 years. And I was like, I'm 26 years old. I have no money. I have to be profitable. So I figured it out. And that's always been my motto, is we're going to figure out how to get the financials right. I don't have all the answers, but we have a lot of experts at this club that do. And I think that's important to reach out to people who are good at the certain industries that they're good at. And I think we've done that with the House Commission recently, reaching out to restaurant owners in town who are fantastic at running restaurants, saying, how can we improve this? So that's what I'm good at. I'm good at connecting people and reaching out when we need to know something. One thing I will say is Alto's going to have an insurance problem at some point. And I'm not talking about homeowners insurance. I'm talking about the master policy for the club, and how that look. I mean, adding La Junta, a different type of risk, adding Cocopelli, and all the things that we have, at some point insurance is going to come into play, and that could really impact the financials. I think I could be very beneficial there, reading through contracts and helping understand and making wise decisions as far as that goes going forward.
One of the things I'll say that we've been blessed with at this club has been the people at the club and the people that are willing to volunteer. I mean, I am not an accountant. My background is finance, but it has to do more with Wall Street than anything else. But I will tell you this, the things I have been impressed with have been our finance commission that we have here has some of the brightest people on it that I've ever been around. And going through the budget process this year, first time I've ever really sat down and looked at every nut and bolt. Thank you, Terry Schaefer, for, dragging us through this thing. We took a hard look at everything. I mean, I've caught flack, other people have caught flack because we've closed clubs and, they weren't open during the winter. We can't afford to run a club when you have to have 8 people there and have 3 people show up for lunch. We're making tough decisions that, that have to be made in order to keep dues where they are, in order to keep this club profitable, in order to build up our reserves. I mean, we're doing the steps. I'm not sure they were done in the past. I only know what my time on the board looks like. And going forward, I can promise that this group is going to do that. And I think anybody that makes it from this panel will be very, very cognizant of where we are and where we came from and where we can get to. Thanks.
In the perfect world, you would service your projects out of your operating cash flow. But we don't live in a perfect world. We try to improve the club, enhance the club, and some of those projects require debt. What I'd like to see is that whenever we incur that we manage that to where we pay it off within 3 years, because I don't want to saddle the next board with debt payments that we committed to. So I'd like to see that time frame. I think there is a chance that, there would be debt sometime, but I think that in the past, we've managed that very well. If you look at our financials, we've gone a long way to paying that down, and I think it's in a very manageable state now. Thank you.
I'd like to echo a little bit about what Stan said. This last board, I know in March they did a $3.3 million debt consolidation, which brought a lot of debt into place, eliminated a lot of different loans that they already had out there, got a better interest rate. I think that's been very good for the group. I think they've gotten out of the real estate business for the most part. I think the last rental home that they've got will be sold, I think, this month. And I think in the process, the La Junta facility has been paid off in full, I believe. And that's another one that we may want to consider what we do with once we get on the board, because that could create some additional revenue. There are so many people out here looking for jobs today. I don't know that we need to continue to bring people in from outside sources to provide services for us during the summer hours. But it's something we need to look at and consider. That would save us quite a bit of money. I think what I bring to the table, as I mentioned earlier, my life in the last 45 years has been in commercial, industrial, and residential land development. And every bit of that is budgeting and tight budgeting. Don't want cost overruns, this type of thing. I did a lot of property management when I first got into the business, and as far as roofing projects, paving, building improvements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I did quite a bit of that. Contract negotiations, bid processing. I bring a lot of that experience to the table, and I want to be able to bring that to the club and to the board. So again, kudos to the existing board and to the Finance Commission that's really helped to get this board back in place, and again to Terry, who's done an excellent job of getting us back in place here. Thank you.
I agree with the idea that we want to avoid debt. There is an argument that there is a pertinent place for debt, though. If you're buying a 20-year asset and it's multi-million dollars in cost, then using some debt financing can be an appropriate way to do it. Our Finance Commission, with the expertise we have there, will help guide us to understand how those trade-offs might best work. I have a great deal of optimism that if we focus on the key performance indicators of how our club is really running, that we'll get real good insight from that on where the costs, where our expenses are essential and where some of our expenses may be optional, and give us a real good basis for understanding how to optimize our club operations against the very seasonal challenges that we face here. That's always going to be a challenge for all of us. On the large capital projects, we need to really try to understand various options that we have. I know a lot of people are concerned about the irrigation system. I've got a lot of ideas on how you can manage that irrigation system without having to wholesale replace it. And those things will play heavily into what our future costs look like. So try to get the best definition of our expenses that we can, and from that basis, we can make informed decisions on how to go forward.
Okay, thank you. The fourth question, let's jump around. Ryan, we'll let you start this time, and we'll come this way. What do you think are a couple of higher priority issues for the board to consider?
From my perspective,
If you could hold the mic up, thank you.
there we go. That's close. So from my perspective, everything comes back to finances. It's looking forward to what does this place look like in 10, 15, 20 years from now. And again, I from a member standpoint, I think the average age has come down. I'd like to see it come down more. And I think we're doing the right things for that to happen. We're moving in that direction. There's tons of younger members that are coming in and seeing the value that we have to offer here. Read that one back again. I'm not a good public speaker. Let's just address that right now.
What do you think are a couple of higher priority issues for the board to consider?
So the restaurant situation is one that I want to look into, and the board's not here to micromanage and do all that, but getting the right people in place and having that experience, I think it changes, it impacts the way that the club does business and the way that it has a big impact on financials. I think the restaurant was one of the biggest places that we lost money here. So that's one thing that I'd like to see improve.
I think he wants to go that way.
I'll go back to that, what I was talking about earlier. One of our higher priorities, I think, obviously, is getting our finances back on track. I think we're moving that direction. I still believe that we need to focus on having cash reserves. We need to reduce our debt. And I might throw this out there too. In looking at capital expenditures and that, I think in the past that there has been money spent based on future receipts. We're going to budget how much money we expect to have in home sales, how much money we're going to have. My idea is you wait and you receive that money before you spend that money. And that's the way I've run our business. I also believe that we need to have a strategic plan. Number one, how are we going to build up our cash reserves? Number two, what are we looking for in the future? What do we want to do in the future? We've been kicking down the road about the irrigation here. I think that's a priority. I think another priority is we need to take care of our water situation here. We need to make sure that whether we're leasing water, wherever we're getting our water, We need to have a plan that's going to carry this club into the future with our water. I know we're talking about key performance indexes. I believe in them. I think they're great. I think we need to, you got to be a little bit careful in some areas of that, because I know we don't want to give up any of our amenities. We have some fabulous amenities here, and some of them, I'm assuming, probably our return on investment of what we're doing is not probably performing the way we would like. But do we want to give up some of the amenities that we have? I don't think we do. I think we need to look at possibly looking at other amenities, maybe even some that can fund themselves over a period of time, or we recoup our money. I'm just throwing this out there, not saying anything. That I would love to see golf simulators here in the snow. For the golf simulator, I'd like to see an indoor pickleball court. I don't even play pickleball, but I would like that to be one of our things that down the road. Would I support that now? Not a chance. Would I support it next year? Probably not. But something that we can put in place where we can build up some cash reserves, and when we decide to do these things, there's some money available. Sorry.
I think I like to look at the revenue side always, because as I said in the past, things happen. I think we have to look at, when you look at the exercise facility now in the winter, lots of people are there in the winter using it. When we went to the Christmas party here, the Thanksgiving party here, it was full. So there are a lot of people here that aren't using the facilities, which means they aren't spending money. They aren't eating here and they aren't drinking here. And I think that's an issue that we have to address. We also have to address, in the same light, we have to figure out how to make people happy enough to spend discretionary income here rather than someplace else in Ruidoso. We have to figure out how we can do everything everybody wants to do without ever having to worry about chasing members away because they can't afford it. And the answer to that, again, is more sales, more house sales. You know, there's 73 houses that burned down. Very few have been rebuilt. Why? Why aren't they being rebuilt, and what can we do to make them rebuilt? Can we motivate builders to come up here and actually build houses, build spec houses? There aren't very many houses for sale in that price range for the new houses, and we need to do all those kind of things that increase our revenue. And expenses we can control, revenue we have to generate. And one of the things that I think I'm really happy about this club with is employee retention. One of the things you do when you're in business, you want to have employees that will say good things about you, employees that will stay, because it's expensive as heck to replace an employee. It doesn't sound like it, but we were talking about the people from South Africa, and that's an expensive group to have. It would be nice to be able to have people in Ruidoso that would be willing to work here, one, that they could afford to live here, and also like to work here. So I think those are the kind of things that in the future that we really have to look at and we have to work toward. Thanks.
Remind me of the question.
What do you think are a couple of high priority issues for the board to consider?
I think what I'm hearing is one of the highest ones are water rights and irrigation systems. Things are happening with our water rights. Others outside of our control are looking to make changes that are going to involve legal hearings regarding how water rights at Outlaw are handled. We don't know how that is going to go, but that is I think a near-term issue coming for us. We have the water rights that we bought from Coco that we've got to figure out how we're going to be able to use them in the way that we want to. This is going to be a multi-year, multifaceted project. On top of that, we've got concerns about the irrigation system that really need to be defined in terms of what the needs and goals are. People are talking about redesigning the Alto golf course to use less water. So on one hand, we've got people pushing for more water supply. On the other hand, we've got ideas on how to reduce water use. That gets to be a very complex issue, and there's nothing more important to a golf course than water. And that's the one I think that's going to be top of the list of things to handle over probably at least the next 5 years, if not longer. And that's going to involve potentially sizable investments as well. So yes, we need to get busy building reserve funds. And if that means optimizing some of our amenity usage, particularly around seasonal activities, then those are decisions that we're going to need to be able to make.
Everybody says financials, financials, financials. We need money, money, money. Absolutely, that's the bottom line. Capital reserves. I mentioned earlier that we really need to get back to doing capital reserve study analysis, really understand what monies we do have, long-term planning, short-term planning. What types of things do we want to see? What type of things do you all want to see? Because that's what I want to hear from you, is what types of things do you want to see? Do we want to see an indoor pickleball court or indoor racquetball court? I don't know. I want to know what you want to have. But I think that's what we need to focus on. I think we've done a lot of amenities, a lot of capital improvements, capital purchases with Cocapelli, with Outlaw over the last couple of years, the new facility here, physical fitness facility and pools. We've done a lot of things over the last several years, and unfortunately, coupled with COVID and the fires and the floods, it's gotten us in a bit of a struggle. So I think before we do anything, we have to focus on how do we get our finances in order, and that's what I want to focus on as far as I'm concerned. I think we need to look at internally right now, we could look at dining experiences, entertainment experiences. How do we make things better for the existing membership? How do we involve you all more in what's going on here? I want that kind of input from you all in the future. Thank you.
I have to echo the finance, comments there. Everything's driven by that. But I also want to say that I think a priority is how do we attract members? You've got to keep growing the club. You've got to keep attracting club. And what's our next generation looking for? I think the golf course is very important, and you want to have a very good golf course. That attracts the golfers, and then the events and concerts and restaurants, all of that keeps them a member. And so I think that you've got to put a lot of priority on the golf course. I think one of our biggest risk is fire threat, because with that, it's a double whammy. You've got a loss of revenues, and then you have continued expenses. So I would love to see reserves and anticipation for ways to combat that and keep the club safe and functioning. Thank you.
Okay. The two things, well, first I want to address Ryan's thing. He said the club needs to get younger. I guess he wants all of us older folks to die off. I mean, you know. Seriously, in my opinion, I think the two biggest things that are going to affect this club are going to be water and insurance. One of the things that this board has started is with the Alto Lakes Water and Sanitation District, with Cocopelli, and with Outlaw. We're working on a plan to commingle and combine the water rights so that it would allow us to move them around up here on the top of the mountain to the courses that we need them and to the places that we need them. I mean, we're not going to be able to drill any more wells. Hondo Valley will make sure of that. But we can manage what we have. One of the things Charlie said was about doing some things different on the golf course in terms of, you know, limiting some of the places that we water and allow it to go natural. I mean, there's an awful lot of space, particularly over here at Alto, where, I mean, I'm just sitting here looking at the course. I mean, and it is beautiful and it is great, but maybe there ought to be some areas that we allow to go natural to conserve the water. And then the other thing that I think that we're going to really be challenged with is going to be the availability of insurance. We're already seeing home sales suffer because of some of the things that the insurance companies want. It's not going to be us, you know, driving it on fireproofing your houses or your yards or cutting trees or whatever. It's going to be the insurance companies that are going to tell you what you're going to need to do. We've already seen that start. So, I mean, those be the two things, in my opinion, that we've got to get together and do as much as we can to conserve our water, to have some, to keep our courses beautiful, and then just to have the ability to have insurance up here. I think those are the things that we're going to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's just start up here at Levi and we'll run down the row again. How would you define the role of a board member versus the role of management?
I would go to the bylaws. The bylaws spell it out. Board is responsible for providing direction and goals and KPIs, where the board the management is responsible for the day-to-day operations. I did that in the past. You know, I ran operations and you know, was responsible for that, and I got paid for it. They get paid for it, and we want to hire quality people to do that. I've always been from the thought that you hire people smarter than you are because they're going to make you look good. So I think that the board provides that direction and then allows them and supports the club management to run the day-to-day.
Obviously, hiring competent management is the first goal of the board, and then it's up to the board to listen to management, listen to their recommendations, approve things that make sense, but not to do the daily micromanaging of the club. That's not our responsibility. That's the job of the management, and that's where it needs to be placed. We're there to do our responsibility to look after the finances, to build what we can, take care of the capital and improvements, the day-to-day expenses, but management is the one that's in charge of running things and come to us with their ideas.
Fully agree that the job of management is to run the place. One of the things I would like to ask of management is to have them explain to the board the good things that they are doing for us. And that's where I see one of the roles of KPIs. Let's go down some of the key KPIs, let management describe to us how they are using those to keep our facilities on track. The board sets the large direction on it, trust what our management is doing, but verify it through some interactive discussion where we talk about functional performance of the good things that they are doing for us.
I like to use the analogy of a baseball team. I think the job of the owner and the board in our case is supply the tools that the manager needs to be successful. And board has to guarantee that they have the right players, in our case the right employees that present the right image and do the right things. But you don't go down and tell the manager what player to play what position that day. You have to hire a manager that knows what to do, and if he doesn't do it, you replace him.
I think the primary duty of a board member is to set policy. That's what a board is designed to do, set policy. I think the board also needs to determine a strategic plan financially, future, and what will carry us into down the road. It's also, I believe that it's the duty of the board to approve the budget and also hire the general manager and also direct the general manager. I also think that it's a responsibility of the board to work with the general manager. He's not our enemy. We're not lording anything over him. We hired him. We should work together with the general manager to make this a better place. We obviously don't need to be, we let the general manager run the day-to-day operations of the club.
The board's job is to act in the best interest of the members and not micromanage every single aspect of the club, to look at the finances and handle that for the club and to act in the best interest of all the members. It bleeds through when they get when any board gets too involved in every single aspect of the club. You feel it with the employees. You feel it everywhere you go, and that's not the job of the board. We've had management turnover the last couple of years, and you can feel that. So I think the big emphasis of the board is to put in a lot of effort into getting the right people in management, and then supporting them, and having faith that they're going to do their job and handle all the trickle-down effect of managing employees and all that thing, and let the board stay away from all of that.
You know, when you're last, they've pretty much said everything you're going to say. But I mean, I do agree, and I think that that's what we have tried to do on this board is we don't run the club. We select the management, we give them guidelines, we want measurable performance marks for them, and then we let them do the day-to-day. We shouldn't get involved in any of the day-to-day activities around here. That's not our job. Our job is to find the people to run this place and to run it as well as they possibly can. And quite simply, that's the way I believe it is. Thanks.
All right, we've got one more question here, and I think we're doing good on time. Charlie, you haven't started one yet. And this kind of goes along with the management, and it may not take much to answer, but it was one that was submitted. Seeing how much time the current board members are working for our club, it is apparent that it's several hours a week position. It's hard work and hard decisions have to be made. Are you full-time or part-time? And how many hours a week are you willing to work for this club?
Well, I am full-time. I haven't actually tried to count how many hours it's going to be, but my wife will tell you I have a lot of spare time on my hands. It takes 4 hours to play a round of golf, and I like to play golf 3 or maybe 4 times a week, closer to 3, and the rest of that time is pretty vacant. It's not all going to go to the board. I'm sorry. It's going to go other places as well, but yeah, time constraints are not really a problem for my participation on the board.
If you take on an obligation to be in a board, you have to be willing to spend the time to make it work. And if you don't want to, you shouldn't get on. So I think from listening to everybody today, everybody's prepared to do that. Boards are time consuming, not only the meetings, but the conversations at the dinner table by people coming up to you, the telephone calls and all that. And you have to be willing to do that, and I am, because I've done it in the past. And it's not, I've enjoyed being on boards. They're fun, and it's a challenge to make sure things go well in the future. So I'm more than willing always to spend the time.
Well, I'm part-time, but we have planned on, our grandkids are gone, they're in college or married or whatever. We plan on spending 8 months a year up here, almost full-time, but I don't have a problem hopping on a plane to make it up here for a board meeting. Emergency called one, I don't know that I could do that, might have to be Zoom. But I am ready and willing to put in the hours and to put in whatever it costs me to get up here to attend the meetings that need to be attended to. I worked for 40 years, putting 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. I don't have a problem with putting in the time for the board.
So I live in Las Cruces, which is 2 hours away from here. During the summers, I'm here full time, and I still do work. I don't work 40 hours a week, although sometimes I tell my wife that so that I can sneak out and golf. I didn't take this lightly. This is not a popular thing to do. This is not going to be fun, and I understand that, but I feel like it's necessary, and I have the time to do it. I have very good employees right now, so I can sneak out of work. I would not be running for this if I was going to zoom in on everything. So I want to be here in person making the decisions, and I do have the ability to do that.
I almost laugh at this because people said, Stanley, I can't believe you're running again. And people have come up to me and said, you want me to vote for you or against you? My wife would give you a different answer than I will. It's a way more hours than you want to think, because it isn't just the board meetings, it's the prep for the meetings, but it's also, if you're a member of the board, you're also a liaison to a commission, whether it's golf and greens or the house committee or finance or something. You're involved in things all the time. It's far from a part-time position, and I've enjoyed it. I don't mind people coming up to me and asking me questions. That isn't something that bothers me. When I ran, I said I wanted to be accessible and would answer any question that I can. There's certainly sometimes things that go in an executive session I can't answer for you, but I mean, I'll answer any question that you have. You know, we live here full time. We love it up here, and you know, I don't know that I've missed a board meeting in 3 years, and I don't plan on missing one going forward. Thanks.
I'm part-time, about 6 months here, 6 months in Horseshoe Bay. But we have family in Midland and Amarillo, and we use those trips to get within 4 hours of here. So my family thinks I'm a really good uncle by coming through Amarillo a lot. And, so we're here, and we have 2 airports that we can fly into, so not an issue on getting here for meetings. My work history has demonstrated that I will put in the hours for any job. And I think that I manage my life, work and life balance. I'd rather work till midnight and take the weekends off. But that's because I want to spend that with my family and my wife. So thank you.
My wife and I are full-time residents up here, been here 11 years. I wouldn't be sitting here if I wasn't willing to commit to the time it's going to take to do this. If you've read my bio, you've seen I've been on a tremendous amount of boards, commissions. I've been an alderman, on a city council, so I know what it takes to spend the time to do what you have to do to get the job done, and that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
I think we have time here for, we've got a few questions from the floor. This is an interesting one. I think, see Rocky, you didn't get to start one yet, did you? All right. The board is hiring a firm to do a 2-pronged study for the club. A questionnaire which will be scientifically composed of analyzed and a facility assessment analysis. Are you prepared to abide by the findings of this study?
Yes, I am.
There you go.
Same answer. Yes, I am.
We're not going to pay for a study we're not going to use. I mean, if you're gonna spend the money, then you're going to use the study. It's that simple.
Levi, I would come back to you.
I would concur that you would hope that you hired experts that would give you additional resources to manage the club appropriately.
Yeah, I've mentioned numerous times I think we need to do that capital reserve planning and a study for that as well. Absolutely, I believe in professional studies and would certainly want to follow along with what the recommendations are.
Yes, we will use that study. Just be prepared for a sticker shock number. We're having trouble right now funding our depreciation level. I expect this number to come in considerably higher.
I'll buck the trend and say I will more than likely do what they say, but I have to be a little skeptical of anything that until you see it and make sure what the biases are from the beginning. But it's important to have outside people look and give their suggestions.
All right. I tell you what, we appreciate everybody being here today. We appreciate you guys that have volunteered to run for the board. It's a thankless job, but we're glad you're doing it. We'd like to take a 2-minute recap and just whatever you feel you might want to say, a reason you're doing this, what you may think is the most important thing. Just 2 minutes and we'll go about our day. So Levi, since you're sitting here next to me, if somebody hand him a microphone.
I've been able to use the club and enjoy the club, taking part in the golf courses, pickleball, the workout facilities, the concerts, the dining, the bar area, and I just feel like it's time for me to get back to that club, and that's my main motivation for running for the board. I think that my finance and accounting background, where general accounting over on the treasury side, dealing with debt compliance, project analysis, running ROIs on projects lend to what our club needs. It's a fantastic club, and I look forward to serving if you so elect.
I certainly agree with Levi. My wife and I have certainly enjoyed our time here, the entertainment, the dining, the people, the fellowship, the whole 9 yards. We appreciate what the club is and what it's brought to the community. We want to keep that going. We want to see it improve. We want to see membership improve, membership experience improve, and that's what I'm here to try to help do. So thank you all.
Well, we certainly enjoy it. Everybody here just enjoys being here, and everything that the club adds to their enjoyment of the area is just a great big plus. My goals here are to seek a balance between financial performance and the perks of club experience. We need to get a very good understanding of what our costs are. We do need to work on building our reserves, and that's going to require some trade-offs, but those need to be informed. I'm very much for data-driven, fact-based decision-making. I hope the KPIs give us a great deal better understanding of what our costs truly are and where some changes can be made there. But this is just a great place to be, and we're all just very happy to be here. Let's make it the best experience for ourselves that we can, but keep our finances managed.
Well, I think the goal of any business is long-term survival, and that's true of a club. We have to look to make sure that the people that come after us, there's still a club here. And to do that, you can't make the membership mad at you all the time. You can't make the membership wonder what's going to happen next year or what's going to happen 2 years from then. You have to have a plan, and you have to look forward and see how you're going to continue to make the club a place that people want to come, but yet financially responsible so they can survive downturns, upturns, and fires and floods.
The very first thing that I said when I got the mic for the very first time to start is, this is our happy place. We love this place. I would like to give back to this place. I feel like I can bring my business experience in the rental business, and also we are still in the construction business. I do have considerable construction experience that we've been doing that for about 38 years. Not quite as involved as I was. Our daughter and family run the business, and I think I could offer some, I think I could be an asset to the board. We've been talking about financial, that's key. I think water's key. But you know what? I think the biggest asset of this place is the people. You look at assets and liabilities, the greatest asset of this place are the people that are members here. And I think that's a tribute to the club, and I would like to keep continuing that.
It's funny, I grew up here, so I've seen this evolve from what it is now into where we are, or from what it was into where we are now. Going forward, I see the membership growing more to the youth, to the younger people, to getting Stan out of here. No, we have to be a place that 30s, 40s, 50s want to be. I mean, it has to be that place, and we are moving in the right direction. I think this board's doing a great job. I tell people this. I've done this before. I've skied in the morning, golfed in the afternoon, and deer hunted later in the evening. You can do that here. This place is awesome, and I look forward to seeing what all we have to offer. I think I have a lot to offer the board, not so much public speaking, but other than that, I think we got we have a lot of good things going, and I think the board has moved in the right direction. I would like to see that continue, and I think I can help with that.
Well, for whatever few days I've got left, Suzanne and I just love this place. I mean, I brought her up here years ago, and she came up and fell in love with Ruidoso, and then we found this place, and we've been here ever since. And I mean, it's not trite for me to say, but I really want to give back and to work hard for this community because I love it just so damn much.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we had another handful of questions. Some of them are kind of obvious. It says, do you believe an organization our size should have a healthy capital reserve fund? We've heard that all afternoon from every candidate up here. We do have an interesting one here. It says, do you believe despite being a quasi-private club, we have a moral obligation to make sure all club facilities are ADA? Show of hands, yes. As the older I get, needing a cane, I vote for that one too. Thank you all for your time. Guys, once again, thank you for running. We got happy hour coming up. Maybe they can open the bar just a little bit early, and we can go about our afternoon. Guys, I would encourage you to hang around, and if somebody wants to bend your ear, let them do it. I want to say thank you again to Patty and Ann and Brittany and Woody. We think we have a pretty good slate, and if we miss somebody, you line them up for next year.
Good job, Charlie.
Thank you.